Good evening. I'm Alex Truth.
And I'm Maya Clarity. Welcome to Truth Report. Tonight, we're investigating what may be one of the most bizarre intelligence operations in modern history, a collaboration between Israel's Mossad and an Atlanta-based comedian to recruit spies inside Iran during a bloody crackdown that's left thousands dead.
That's right, Maya. While Iranian streets ran red with blood this January, Israeli intelligence launched a sophisticated recruitment campaign targeting potential informants. But here's the twist that sounds like it belongs in a spy thriller. They allegedly purchased the ads through a company owned by stand-up comic Desi Banks.
We're talking about an operation that spanned 19 countries, utilized AI-generated propaganda, and appeared on platforms from YouTube to Telegram. According to reporting from the Grayzone, these Farsi language ads promised protection and financial rewards to Iranians working in sensitive industries and centers. The message was clear: betray your country, and Israel will take care of you.
Let's start with the death toll, because that context is critical. The January 2026 protests in Iran have resulted in catastrophic casualties. According to NPR, independent human rights organizations have confirmed over 3,000 protesters dead, with Iran Human Rights reporting at least 3,428 killed as of January 14. But those are conservative estimates.
Conservative is putting it mildly, Alex. The Sunday Times, citing a report compiled by doctors working inside Iran, estimates at least 16,500 protesters killed and approximately 330,000 injured. CBS News reported that activist groups working with medical officials believe the toll could be as high as 20,000. These aren't just numbers, we're talking about a massacre.
Amnesty International analyzed video footage from a makeshift morgue in Kurizak and identified at least 205 distinct body bags in a single location. The nights of January 8 and 9 were the deadliest, with hospitals in Tehran and Shiraz overwhelmed by injured protesters, many suffering from gunshot wounds. This is state violence on a massive scale.
And it's precisely in this environment of chaos and bloodshed that Mossad saw opportunity. The recruitment ads began appearing on January 14 through 19 on Twitter, now called X, under the account at Payamiabi, as well as YouTube, Google platforms, and a Telegram channel called Blue Message. The messaging was designed to exploit the desperation and rage of Iranians watching their compatriots gunned down in the streets.
One ad stated, "Your role, Iranians abroad, is vital. The final days of the regime have arrived." Another declared, "Our organization has heard the voice of you, the people of Iran, and is planning the final blows against the regime." This is psychological warfare, Mossad positioning itself as the liberator while recruiting intelligence assets to undermine Iran's nuclear program and security apparatus.
Now let's talk about how these ads were purchased, because this is where it gets truly strange. According to the Grayzone's investigation, the ads were bought through Desi Banks Productions LLC, a company owned by Atlanta comedian Desi Banks. His business address is listed as 1195 Milton Terrace Southeast in Atlanta's Chosewood neighborhood. Banks is known for urban-themed comedy sketches and has over 15 million social media followers.
Desi Banks appears to be an unwitting participant, or at least, that's the charitable interpretation. When investigative reporter Jack Polson contacted Banks in September 2025 about the campaign, he received no response. When motivational speaker Wallace Peoples confronted Banks about mysterious benefactors using his company, Banks appeared uncomfortable and denied involvement. The Grayzone visited his address, no one answered.
So either Banks has been deceived by Israeli intelligence into providing cover for this operation, or he's a knowing participant playing dumb. Neither scenario reflects well on the oversight mechanisms at Google, which allowed its advertising platform to be weaponized for intelligence recruitment. Where were the compliance checks? Where was the verification of who's actually buying ads targeting Iranian diaspora communities?
This raises fundamental questions about Silicon Valley's role in intelligence operations. We're not talking about some dark web forum. These ads ran on YouTube and Google, platforms used by billions. The campaign's Google Ads account number is AR178336898736266693633, visible in Google's Ad Transparency database. This operation was hiding in plain sight.
And let's be clear about what Mossad was recruiting for. This isn't just about gathering intelligence. According to ProPublica's reporting on Israel's broader recruitment efforts in Iran, recruits fell into two categories, some focused on traditional espionage, but others expressed willingness to carry out violent operations, including attacks on nuclear scientists.
We have historical precedent for this. Between 2010 and 2020, 5 Iranian nuclear scientists were assassinated, with Iran consistently blaming Israel. In 2020, Israel killed Mohsen Fakhrizadeh, considered the architect of Iran's nuclear program, using a remotely operated machine gun with AI-enhanced facial recognition. That's not spy versus spy tradecraft, that's state-sponsored assassination using cutting-edge technology.
The Times of Israel reported that Mossad deployed over 100 foreign agents inside Iran before the June 2025 conflict, operating heavy missile systems that had been smuggled into the country. This was described as unprecedented in scale. Never before had so many agents been activated in a single mission. The recruitment ads we're discussing are part of that larger infrastructure.
Now, who's publicly cheerleading this operation? Former CIA Director and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. On January 3, 2026, Pompeo posted on X, "Happy New Year to every Iranian in the streets. Also to every Mossad agent walking beside them." According to the Jerusalem Post and the National, he added, "The Iranian regime is in trouble. Bringing in mercenaries is its last best hope."
Think about the implications of that statement. A former CIA director, someone who knows exactly how intelligence operations work, is publicly confirming that Israeli agents are embedded within Iranian protest movements. He's not hinting or speculating, he's stating it as fact. This isn't diplomatic subtlety, it's a brazen admission of foreign intervention in another nation's internal affairs.
Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi responded by saying, "Pompeo has admitted that Mossad agents were alongside the rioters and were directing this terrorist current. Now, we have to be careful about accepting Iranian government claims at face value, especially given their track record." But when Mike Pompeo is essentially confirming their accusations, it becomes harder to dismiss as propaganda.
Let's talk about who benefits from this chaos. Israel has spent decades trying to sabotage Iran's nuclear program. In 2018, Mossad stole approximately 50,000 paper documents and 55,000 pages of digital files from a Tehran warehouse housing Iran's nuclear archive, according to reporting on the operation. In 2010, the Stuxnet virus destroyed hundreds of centrifuges at the Natanz enrichment facility, a joint US-Israeli cyber attack.
The pattern is clear. Israel views Iran's nuclear program as an existential threat and has conducted a shadow war involving theft, sabotage, assassination, and now, mass recruitment of informants during a period of unprecedented civil unrest. The Israeli government has a strategic interest in regime destabilization, and these recruitment ads are designed to accelerate that process.
But here's what we need to consider: what happens to ordinary Iranians in this equation? The people protesting in the streets aren't demanding foreign intervention, they're demanding economic justice, political freedom, and an end to authoritarian rule. According to Middle East Eye's reporting, many Iranian protesters have explicitly rejected American and Israeli interference, saying we want change, not destruction.
Exactly. When foreign intelligence services infiltrate protest movements, they compromise the legitimacy of those movements. The Iranian government can point to Pompeo's statements and Mossad's recruitment ads as evidence that the protests aren't organic, that they're foreign-backed regime change operations. This gives the Islamic Republic a propaganda weapon to justify its brutal crackdown.
And the casualties reflect that brutality. Over 18,400 people arrested as of January 14, according to the human rights activists' news agency. Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei acknowledged that several thousand were killed, a rare admission from a government that typically denies or minimizes such figures. An Iranian official told Reuters the government's own estimate exceeds 5,000 dead.
So we have a situation where Israeli intelligence is exploiting genuine Iranian grievances to recruit spies and saboteurs, while the Iranian government uses that foreign interference as justification for massacring its own citizens. Meanwhile, American tech companies provide the infrastructure for the recruitment campaign, and former U.S. officials publicly celebrate it. Who's accountable here?
Let's circle back to the financial trail, because that's often where the truth hides. The ads were purchased through Google's platform using Desi Banks Productions LLC as the front. We don't have specific budget figures, but running coordinated ad campaigns across 19 countries on multiple platforms isn't cheap. Where's the money coming from?
Mossad's budget is classified, but Israel's overall intelligence spending is substantial. The question is whether American companies should be profiting from intelligence operations that target foreign nationals, especially when those operations are connected to a conflict that's killed thousands. Google's ad revenue from this campaign may be a tiny fraction of their quarterly earnings, but it represents something more troubling: the commercialization of espionage.
And the targeting was sophisticated. Germany was the only nation where all the ads appeared, with the German campaign specifically targeting family members of Iranian nuclear scientists. Think about that for a moment. Mossad is running ads in Germany aimed at relatives of people working on Iran's nuclear program, offering them money and protection to turn their family members into informants or worse.
This is the darker side of influence operations that we hear about in discussions of election interference and disinformation. We're not just talking about fake news or trolls, we're talking about recruiting people to commit espionage and potentially violent acts against their own country's infrastructure and personnel. The line between intelligence work and terrorism becomes very thin.
ProPublica's investigation into Israel's recruitment efforts found that a former senior Mossad officer described the process this way: convincing someone to betray their country is no small feat. It starts with minor requests that grow larger if recruits perform well, a gradual erosion of loyalty. That's classic tradecraft, but when it's conducted via social media ads exploiting a massacre, it takes on a particularly cynical character.
Let's also consider the role of AI in this operation. The ads featured AI-generated videos, according to the Grayzone. We're entering an era where intelligence agencies can create synthetic media at scale, targeting specific populations with personalized propaganda. The technology makes it easier than ever to run these operations while maintaining plausible deniability.
And the platforms enable it. YouTube, Google, Twitter, these companies talk endlessly about content moderation and preventing harmful material, but somehow a foreign intelligence service can run a recruitment campaign for espionage and potential violence, and it stays up for weeks. The ad transparency database shows exactly who's buying these ads, yet no one at Google thought to ask why a comedian's production company is targeting Iranians in 19 countries with messages about regime change.
Either it's negligence or it's tacit approval. Given the close relationship between U.S. intelligence agencies and Silicon Valley tech companies, documented extensively over the years, I lean toward the latter. These platforms aren't neutral infrastructure, they're strategic assets in information warfare, and their executives know it.
Now, let's zoom out and look at the broader pattern. This story isn't just about one weird recruitment campaign, it's about how modern warfare is conducted. You don't need to invade a country or even launch missiles anymore. You can destabilize it through economic sanctions, cyber attacks, assassination of key personnel, and recruitment of internal saboteurs. Iran has been the target of all of these tactics for years.
The Grayzone's reporting revealed that Israeli Channel 14 correspondents stated that foreign actors are arming the protesters in Iran with live firearms. If that's true, and given the death toll, it's certainly plausible, then we're not just talking about intelligence gathering. We're talking about arming an insurgency inside another country. That's an act of war by any reasonable definition.
And it's being conducted with American infrastructure, American technology, and the public endorsement of former American officials. The implications for international law are staggering. The United Nations Charter prohibits the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state. Yet here we have a systematic campaign to undermine Iran's government using violence and subversion.
To be clear, criticism of Israeli and American tactics doesn't mean endorsement of the Iranian government. The Islamic Republic's human rights record is abysmal. The regime has brutally suppressed dissent for decades. But the question isn't whether Iran's government deserves criticism, it obviously does. The question is whether foreign intelligence services should be exploiting civilian protests to recruit spies and arming protesters during a massacre that's killed thousands.
And there's a deeper question about consent and manipulation. When Iranians respond to these ads, do they understand they're potentially becoming assets in a decades-long shadow war between Israel and Iran? Are they being told that their recruitment might justify even harsher crackdowns by Iranian security forces? Or are they simply being told that they're heroes fighting tyranny?
The Blue Message Telegram channel, which was central to the recruitment campaign, has over 2,200 subscribers, according to reporting on the operation. That's 2,200 people who've at minimum expressed interest in working with foreign intelligence. Some percentage of those will become active assets. And when Iranian counterintelligence inevitably catches some of them, they'll be executed as traitors.
Which brings us back to Desi Banks. Is he a knowing participant who's agreed to provide cover for this operation in exchange for some benefit we don't know about? Or is he a victim of identity theft or corporate impersonation? Both scenarios are troubling, but for different reasons. If he's complicit, it means intelligence agencies are recruiting American civilians as fronts. If he's not, it means they're stealing American identities for covert ops.
The fact that Banks hasn't publicly addressed this, despite media inquiries going back to September 2025, is suspicious. If someone was using your business to recruit spies for a foreign government, wouldn't you immediately hire a lawyer and issue a statement denying involvement? The silence is deafening.
Unless he's been told by someone, maybe the FBI, maybe another agency, not to discuss it. We're speculating here, but it's worth noting that federal law enforcement could view this as a legitimate counterintelligence operation against Iran and may have asked Banks to stay quiet. Or they could be investigating whether he's violated laws against acting as an unregistered foreign agent.
Here's what we know for certain: the ads ran. They were paid for through Banks' company. They targeted Iranians during a brutal crackdown. Former CIA Director Mike Pompeo publicly celebrated Mossad's involvement in the protests. And thousands of Iranians are dead. Those facts aren't in dispute.
What's in dispute is whether any of this is legal, ethical, or strategically wise. Israel argues that Iran's nuclear program poses an existential threat and that extraordinary measures are justified. The U.S. government, under multiple administrations, has largely supported Israel's right to self-defense, even when that defense involves covert action inside Iran.
But there's a cost to these operations that rarely gets discussed. Every assassination, every act of sabotage, every recruitment campaign hardens Iranian public opinion against the West and strengthens the hardliners who argue that Iran can never negotiate in good faith with countries trying to destroy it. The shadow war makes a diplomatic resolution less likely, not more.
And it sets precedents. If it's acceptable for Israel to run recruitment ads on American platforms targeting Iranians, is it acceptable for China to do the same targeting Americans? For Russia to recruit intelligence assets via Facebook ads? We're normalizing tactics that, if turned around on us, we would call acts of war.
The Grayzone's investigation has pulled back the curtain on an operation that was designed to stay hidden. The use of a comedian's LLC, the AI-generated content, the multi-platform distribution, these are sophisticated intelligence techniques deployed at scale. And they worked, at least until journalists started asking questions.
But here's the thing, even now, with this reporting out in the open, there's unlikely to be any accountability. Google will probably issue a statement about strengthening ad verification. Desi banks will continue doing comedy shows. Israeli and American officials will neither confirm nor deny. And the recruitment campaign will continue under different cover.
Because that's how modern intelligence operations work. They're not about secrets anymore, they're about plausible deniability. Everyone can see what's happening, but the layers of misdirection and obfuscation make it impossible to assign clear responsibility. The comedian didn't know. The tech platform was just following ad requests. The intelligence agencies won't comment on operational matters. And the cycle continues.
Meanwhile, in Iran, families are burying their dead. Over 16,000 people killed, according to medical sources. Hundreds of thousands injured. Tens of thousands arrested. And in the midst of that carnage, foreign intelligence services are running ads asking Iranians to betray their country for cash and promises of safety.
This is the reality of 21st century conflict. No formal declarations of war, no clear battlefields, just a grinding campaign of economic pressure, covert violence, and information operations that blur the line between legitimate intelligence work and state-sponsored terrorism. And it's all facilitated by technology companies that claim to be neutral platforms while profiting from every side of the conflict.
Let's talk about what happens next, because this story is far from over. Iran's government is conducting a massive counterintelligence sweep. According to former Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, the head of Iran's intelligence unit designed to counter Mossad operations was exposed as a double agent in 2021, with about 20 Iranian operatives working for Israel. That's not just embarrassing, it's an intelligence catastrophe.
And it's precisely why these recruitment campaigns are so valuable to Mossad. You don't need to flip the entire security apparatus, you just need enough people in sensitive positions to provide intelligence on nuclear facilities, government communications, and military operations. Every successful recruitment multiplies your capabilities and undermines your adversaries' confidence in their own systems.
But there's a human cost that gets lost in the strategic analysis. The people who respond to these ads aren't all noble dissidents fighting tyranny, some are desperate, some are opportunistic, some are genuinely trying to help their country but are being manipulated by foreign actors with their own agendas. And when they get caught, Iran's justice system isn't exactly known for due process.
Execution is the standard penalty for espionage in Iran. So every person who clicks on these ads and fills out those Google forms is potentially signing their own death warrant. And Mossad knows that. Israeli intelligence officers know that some percentage of their recruits will be discovered and killed. That's factored into their operational calculus.
Which brings us to the fundamental question, is this making anyone safer? Israel's shadow war against Iran has been ongoing for decades: assassinations, sabotage, cyber attacks, recruitment campaigns. And yet Iran's nuclear program continues. The regime remains in power. Regional tensions are higher than ever. At what point do we acknowledge that these tactics aren't achieving their stated objectives?
The counter-argument from the Israeli perspective is that without these operations, Iran would already have nuclear weapons. The sabotage delays the program. The assassinations deprive Iran of key expertise. The recruitment provides early warning of nuclear advances. From their standpoint, this is a successful strategy of containment, even if it doesn't result in complete elimination of the threat.
But containment has costs: financial costs, diplomatic costs, and human costs. The protesters being killed in Iranian streets right now are dying in part because foreign intelligence operations have given the regime a justification for extreme violence. When Mike Pompeo tweets about Mossad agents marching with protesters, he's handing Iranian hardliners propaganda on a silver platter.
And that's the tragic irony of this entire situation. The Iranian people deserve better than the authoritarian theocracy that rules them. They deserve economic opportunity, political freedom, and human rights. But when their legitimate grievances are exploited by foreign intelligence services for geopolitical purposes, it undermines their cause and justifies further repression.
So where does this leave us? We have documented evidence of a foreign intelligence operation conducted via American technology platforms, using an American citizen's business as cover, targeting Iranian civilians during a massacre, with the public endorsement of former American officials. And as far as we can tell, there will be no investigation, no accountability, no consequences.
Because this is how the system is designed to work. Intelligence agencies operate in the shadows with minimal oversight. Tech companies prioritize growth over governance. Politicians offer patriotic rhetoric while enabling extrajudicial killings and covert warfare. And journalists can expose it all, but without political will for change, nothing happens.
What we can do, what we're doing right now, is make this visible. The recruitment ads may have run in 19 countries, but most people have no idea this campaign existed. By documenting the details, following the money, and connecting the dots, we create a public record that can't be easily erased or denied.
The Grayzone, ProPublica, and other investigative outlets have done crucial work on this story. Their reporting provides the foundation for understanding how modern intelligence operations function. This isn't speculation or conspiracy theory, these are documented facts, drawn from ad transparency databases, official statements, and on-the-ground reporting from Iran.
And the facts paint a disturbing picture of how technology has transformed espionage. A comedian's LLC in Atlanta becomes a front for Mossad recruitment. AI generates propaganda videos targeting specific ethnic groups. Social media platforms distribute the content to millions. And the entire operation runs for weeks before anyone in the media notices.
This is the future of conflict, distributed, digital, and deniable. No armies crossing borders, no missiles destroying cities. Just targeted ads, encrypted communications, and cash payments to assets recruited through Google Forms. It's bloodless from the perspective of the operators, but for the targets, the blood is very real.
16,000 dead. 330,000 injured. 18,000 arrested. Those numbers come from doctors and human rights organizations working inside Iran, people risking their lives to document the truth. When we talk about intelligence operations and strategic objectives, we can't lose sight of the human beings caught in the middle.
And we can't ignore the responsibility of American institutions in enabling this. Google's advertising platform. Mike Pompeo's public statements. The broader U.S. policy of maximum pressure on Iran. These aren't separate issues, they're parts of an integrated strategy that treats Iranian lives as acceptable collateral damage in a larger geopolitical game.
The question for viewers is what kind of world we want to live in. Do we accept that intelligence agencies can recruit spies via YouTube ads? Do we accept that tech companies can profit from espionage campaigns? Do we accept that former government officials can publicly celebrate covert operations that contribute to massacres? Or do we demand something better?
Because make no mistake, if these tactics are normalized against Iran, they'll be used elsewhere. The surveillance infrastructure, the data analytics, the micro-targeted propaganda, all of it is platform agnostic. What works in Tehran can work in Moscow, Beijing, or Washington. The tools of oppression and manipulation don't discriminate by ideology.
This story about Mossad and a comedian should be absurd, it should be too bizarre to be real. But in 2026, it's just another Tuesday in the world of digital espionage. That's how far we've fallen, how much we've normalized practices that would have sparked international scandals just a generation ago.
So pay attention to the details. Remember the names, Desi Banks, Mike Pompeo, the Blue Message Channel, the Google Ads account number AR178336889873626693633. These specifics matter because they ground the story in verifiable reality. This happened. It's happening. And it will keep happening until there's a cost for doing it.
We'll continue following this story as it develops. If Desi Banks ever speaks publicly about his company's role, we'll report it. If Google implements new policies on intelligence-related advertising, we'll analyze them. If Iranian counterintelligence starts executing people connected to this campaign, we'll document it. This is the long war, and journalism is how we keep score.
For Truth Report, I'm Alex Truth.
And I'm Maya Clarity. Stay informed, stay skeptical, and demand accountability from those in power. Good night.